Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see, I'm going to be talking a little bit about and showing you, some of this RPG, The Blackest of Deaths, which is a dire old school fantasy RPG created by Eric Bloat. So initially, I didn't know where I got this. PDF from. I thought it was part of a Kickstarter because I backed several games from Bloat Games over the last year on Kickstarter, and when I was going through my drive-through library, I saw this coupled with Dark Places and Demogorgons, and so I opened it up about a week ago and started taking a look at it, and it's a really pretty cool system. Now, from what I understand, what Eric had said was that he actually never released this game, on drive-through. But I think depending on the response here, maybe we can convince him to do so because it is a pretty neat little game. If I do say it's kind of a rules light, like most OSR games are, and it has a tone to it that I think really makes it stand out. At least that's what stood out for me was, you know, Eric jumps right into it, with the tone of this game almost as a like a disclaimer. So before you jump into this game, here's what you can expect. So I'm going to go right to that and show you what I have here on the PDF, so you can see for yourself, how it's laid out because it is an interesting system. So switching scenes. So here we have the Blackest of Death, and I couldn't manage to make this thing scroll like I normally do with a PDF, but here Eric jumps right into the disclaimer. All right, and the disclaimer is, jumps out right back. Your characters will die. And I just love that message to get put out there is that you know, this game is going to be unforgiving, and that's something that we don't see a lot of in more, more contemporary RPGs, like 5e or, some of the others out there, is that, this is really designed to truly test your characters. And if you don't have a very good flight or fight response, um, you can end up losing your characters really quite quickly. So I just like the fact that he jumped right into that and gave that little warning. So credits, what credits do, created by Eric Bloat. Art, as you can see here, Dean Spencer, Daniel Commerci, or, sorry to mispronounce your name, Jeremy Hart, Bradley McDevitt, Luigi Castellani, Nathaniel Rocks, and Rick Hershey. So go writing into the table of contents. So he goes through the core mechanics, hindrance, benefits, advantages and disadvantages, attributes, hit points, healing and death, saving throws and such. So we'll go through. The character races are dwarves, elves, goblins, and humans. So I found that an interesting little twist, throwing the goblin in there. And then we have the classes of assassin, barbarian, monster slayer, a necromancer, a ranger, and a street rat. So and then it goes through spells and gear and such. Now the actual rules of the game, which is another thing I like, what he did here was he put all the rules you really need on one sheet right at the very beginning. So he says the rule book is not complete. There is not a rule for every situation, and this was intentional. So, there's a lot of flexibility for the game master to, make those decisions and say, well, if there's not a skill for this, I can at least see what attribute that skill would be tied to and make you do a check there. So the core mechanic rolls a d20 and a d6 simultaneously. You add all your applicable modifiers. You match it up to the difficulty check. And if you've exceeded the difficulty, then you're successful. All right, so on that d6 that you're rolling along with the d20, you're going to ignore 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, only 1s and 6s. A 1 is a hindrance, which means you could still be successful but have a hindered success, and you can have on a roll of a 6, a benefit. So you can actually fail a roll but still have a benefit attached to that, that failure. So he goes into, what the hindrances and benefits are. And these are, these are created by the DM, potentially on the fly. So you don't really need to have these hard set rules of, well, this is what all hindrances are in this particular situation, or here's a list of potential hindrances in that particular situation. It's really kind of on the fly for the GM to make a decision. And they go in here. So example, a barbarian is successful with an axe attack. However, the axe has become embedded in his opponent and it costs the barbarian his next action to remove it. So, I really like that, that mechanic. It's pretty cool. Same thing with advantages. Disadvantage. So an advantage, when rolling with the advantage, player rolls 2d20 and a 2d6. So they're basically doubling the number of dice, which makes it possible, double the chance to be successful and double the chances to have you keep the best of the two rolls. So and then the disadvantage works the same way. You have to use the lowest results. Attributes, very standard. Strength, intelligence, wisdom, constitution, dexterity, and charisma. However, the way that you roll for them is really quite unique. At least I haven't come across it before. And so determining those rolls, and I've actually rolled up in character, so I'll give you a look at it. You roll the 66, at the same time. You set aside any ones that you've rolled, and then your 6s convert to an attribute of a 3. 4s and 5s are a 2. 2s and 3s are a 1. You re-roll those ones that you rolled, and if you roll a 4, 5, or 6, that converts to a 0. A 2 or 3 is a -1, and a 1 is a -2 to that attribute. Then you assign your attributes. You generate your hit points, your healing. Your healing rate is just straight up your recovery is D6 of lost hit points that you can do twice a day. Saving throws and such. So you can see some pretty cool art. I mean, I really like some of the images that he has in here. I even like the layout. The layout is pretty cool. Yeah, this is really, really good art. There's your dwarf, your elf, your goblin, your human. And then dwarves are treated, they're treated almost like a class and and a race. So they have their attribute modifiers. They have their certain racial skills here. You have elves, and they have their racial skills there. Goblins, humans, which humans are always fairly generic. I mean, you get to choose what you want to add your +1 attribute to in exchange. Your classes, and classes also have, I'll just go to assassin because an assassin's a character. Class bonus is a +1 dex, Dwarves can't be assassins, and they give you their weapons and armor restrictions, and then their abilities. So backstab, poison use, proficient climbing, impersonation and forgery, and finally traps and locks. So assassins are kind of like your thieves in the game. There's barbarians, and then monster slayers, which are kind of like an adventurer class. Type thing, almost like coupling some of the abilities that we typically think of rangers. So you would pick a class of monster or a type of monster that is your quote unquote like selected enemy, and then you get various bonuses to attacking them or doing damage to them. Necromancers, rangers, and street rats. So street rats are charisma based, which is kind of interesting. And lucky escapists, thievery, infectious optimism, recognizing deception, diamond in a rough. Goblins that become street rats gain a +1 to their dexterity score. If I had rolled my character, I'm going to switch over to that now. They go through the spells, and we'll try to zip through this. So there's a different adventure gear, all right, that they use, and it's characters start off based on dwarves, elves, goblins, and humans. So they start off based on their racial groupings, the number of gold pieces that they begin with, and then you can make your purchases here. They have melee weapons here, so a huge selection, but pretty much covers everything that every type that you could possibly be looking for. Same thing with ranged weapons. Everything pretty standard. Armor and shield for transportation. Transportation costs most likely, yes. And then the game master section. I'm not going to go into this right now. I'm going to switch over and show you a character I rolled up. So as you can see here, there wasn't a character sheet with the PDF, so that's one thing. Hopefully, I can either piece together or or maybe if Eric does decide to release the game, that'll be oncoming. So I made a goblin character, a goblin assassin, and I'll go through some of the details here. So the rolls that I had done, I rolled my 66, and I rolled 2 6s, a 4, a 3, and 2 1s. So we discarded the ones. Then I decided that I was going to place the first 6 into my dexterity, which gave me a +3. All right, and so that was going to make it a 3. Then my assassin class gave him an additional +1. So it really gives him a dexterity of a +4 overall, or a 4. Same thing with, I put in Constitution, so I put the 6 points into Constitution, so he has a 3 Constitution. He had no other class or racial bonuses to Constitution, and so that's going to lead to him having 11 hit points. Now, there are no levels. It's not like they're going to pick up more hit points along the way. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, this game is a game that's potentially very dangerous to play. Your characters are going to start off fairly weak until they develop some experience points, but it's not like leveling up in your traditional RPG, your traditional fantasy RPG. Continuing on, my 4 I placed into Strength, which gave him 2-point modifier. Now he has a 3 here because his race of Goblin gets a +1 to Strength. So he ended up with a 3 in Strength. So he is quite strong. He's going to have racial bonuses or modifications. A -1 overall to hit points, a +1 to Strength, a -1 to Intelligence, and a -1 to Wisdom. So when I continued placing my numbers, I put my 3 into intelligence. So with the -1 and the +1, he ends up with a 0 intelligence. Same situation with the re-roll of the 1 was a wisdom of 5. Well, the roll was a 5, so I gave him a +1, but with his minus, it brings him to 0 here. And the only actual attribute that he ended up with a -4 was charisma, and that's because he rolled a 2 on the second roll. So as a character, he has his racial skills are the Curse of the Unwanted, a fearful of nature, which gives him a +2 evade. His magic superstition, which gives him a -2 against magic attacks at him. He's a -2 to defend against magic. And he has an aversion to light, which means he's disadvantaged in direct sunlight. So if you remember that rule we talked about, I talked about earlier, he would roll 2 sets of dice when in direct sunlight, and he'd have to select the lower of the two dice rolls. So, a significant, disadvantage. Then he has backstabbing, poison use, climbing, impersonating, and forgery, and traps and locks. All right, coming back up to the top here, his evade is like really, really, in the wilderness or, in nature, his evade is going to be 17, which is, tremendous evasion. So if he spends his time evading, attacks and such, he'll be virtually impossible to hit. They'd have to roll a 17 or higher on a d20. His initiative is a d6 +4 because of his dexterity. His armor points, based on the type of armor that he can use, his armor points is 2, so it kind of acts as a constant, -2 to incoming damage, passive, I should say. He rolled for his luck, and he rolled, that was a 1d4, I believe, was rolled, and then he got a +2 to that, so he ended up with a total of a 3. So the minimum luck that he could have for his particular race or class. I believe Assassin's class was the one that gave him the bonus. And so, I mean, that's pretty much character creation. I mean, it went very, very fast. It was a very easy, conversion to do. I'll come back over here now. So, once again, I mean, I can go back into, showing you the book. So I printed up the PDF of this, as a matter of fact, and we'll just come here. So seeing it as a PDF is a little bit different than scrolling through. And let me just jump to some of the sections that I hadn't gone through before. So looking here at the let me get to the monsters section. So here we go. And that was another thing I liked about this. So here we're going to go into the monsters. So here you have a bugbear. Let's just take a real quick look at the bugbear here. And then I'll let that catch up. There we go. So this is your bugbear. I mean, no picture needed. Basically have it. It just gives you the raw information that you need. So very, very basic information. 14 hit points. Their evade, their armor points, +1 natural, 3 if they're in armor. Bonus +2 to attack, +1 to damage. They attack by their weapon. Special attacks with advantage the first round of combat. And a very, very brief description. And that's how the entire monster section actually reads, is, just very, very simple information. A few pictures here and there, so there's an imp, a demon. And so there's a whole section on demons. I mean, the art is really, really cool. So there's a dark elf. The female, I believe, is a dark elf, and then she's clutching on to either a demon or most likely a demon. Um, we'll continue on, and it's interesting that the dark elves are in the demons section of the book, or immediately following the demons section. I don't think that they mean that dark elves are demons, but they're associated with them, and so you can see it there. There's a nice little hill giant, and the information here. And you go through. There's a nice selection of different monsters, and other creatures. Kobolds is actually over here. There's kobolds. It's a minotaur, and well, zombies, which we all know that Eric Bloat is very fond of zombies. So, and then there's a variety of charts that you'd roll on. So treasure charts, magic item charts, so everything randomized. Although obviously you can certainly write your own adventures and pre-plant certain things, or you can go the total random route and just determine what kind of treasure, if any, is found, and then go into further detail. But you can see here the entire PDF is about 93 pages, I believe. Actually, a little bit longer. This is more of a glossary in the back here. GM advice on magic and scrolls. So I'll let that get caught up a little bit. There we go. So give some advice. Any one person from a class with magic can read a scroll and learn a spell, but after that the scroll disintegrates. All right. Only character classes with that start with spells can use magic scrolls or learn new spells. That's pretty interesting. So they, does have that limitation on spells and such. And then the OGL, open games licensing and random encounter tables. If so. And here is the. Here's the read here. The Blackest of Deaths refers to those sad adventurers who were critically wounded while adventuring in the dungeons and other underground dwellings, left behind by their adventuring party to slowly bleed out and die as the last of the light from their torch burned dimmer and dimmer until all that's left is the black and the death. All right, so that's what really caught my eye. Somehow I ended up just reading that first and then getting into the game booklet. And, really looks like a lot of fun. I'm certainly going to, run an adventure through there, with some of my friends and see how things go. I'm actually contemplating on making an entire party of goblins, from each class and run that through and see how that turns out. And so when I've done that, either I do it with them or I'll do it with, with just one or two. It depends on who actually shows up. But, once we've done that, I'll come back and talk a little bit about the game and how the game actually played out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If, please leave your comments if you'd like to see that, if you'd like to see any other games that I come across, or, if you really like this game, and, then I can show Eric that, hey, there's a demand for you to actually put this game out. Probably just wants to bring it up to par with some of his other published games out there, as far as the graphics and the whole packaging of it. But it really is a pretty nifty game. I've read through it several times, and like I said, I'm looking forward to playing it. So thanks a lot, Eric, for slipping that into my drive-through. Like I said, I forget exactly when he sent it to me. It was probably coupled with my Dark Places and Demogorgons, which I just picked this up, actually. Just got this in the mail, and I am going to give this a full read through and a full, RPG review of it, or preview of this particular booklet. And this is really cool. I'm really excited about this. It's essentially a monster manual for Dark Places and Demogorgons, and some other suggestions and stuff. So, looking forward to it. I haven't gotten a chance to actually read through it yet, but this is one of the Kickstarters that I had backed. So, looking forward to that. So once again, thanks a lot for joining. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. Well, have a good day.